So I'm going to be saying,
And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to Richard Sowada for two reasons. First of all, we're going to talk about the St. Kilda Film Festival, which is back with a vengeance, I'm glad to say, from the 1st to the 12th of June. Richard Sowada, congratulations on getting this festival really up and running properly now.
yeah, thanks, Peter. It's this is my fourth year of doing it, and this is the first year of me doing it where we've had the fully blown event, which is really great. So we're back at the Palais Theatre, the beautiful Palais Theatre, for the opening night on the first, and then busting out all over town, actually, all over the city of Port Phillip. Yeah, it's a big festival. You know, we received close to 700 entries this year, which was significantly up on previous years, but they were good in previous years anyway. Yeah, it was a lot of films to get through. It's been a really good year. And I have to say, there's the tone, obviously, after COVID has gone away, is very different. You know, the films, there's a lot more comedies, which was good to see for sure. But yeah, there's a different kind of texture to the movies, which is really great. So I've really enjoyed putting it together and really busting out across the city of Port Phillip. Yeah, it's been very enjoyable.
That is terrific to hear. And apart from the Palais, I notice you're using the Astor, Alex Theatre, and other
Yeah.
venues as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, audiences have changed. You know, the cinema industry has changed just substantially, not just because of COVID, but it's been happening for a while. So it's really important for us, and I think other film festivals and other cultural events, really to go out where the audience lives. You can't really be expecting people to come to you necessarily. So you've really got to go out where they are. And so we've spread the festival across, as you say, the Palais for the opening night. There's the Astor, which is the core venue, where we have 17 or 18 programs or so. We're doing a professional development day at the JMC Academy in South Melbourne, which we've done in previous years, which
Yep.
is a really great space to do that kind of stuff. Um, the Alex Hotel, as I said, that's on the day after we do the award ceremony and that sort of thing. So we'll be showing some of the award winners and some of my favourites during the program. And we're also screening at a number of bars and clubs and that sort of thing in South Melbourne, which is really great. Like literally walking in with a projector, a screen, and a PA in the movies, and away we go. And I cut my teeth doing that. That's how I started in the business. I don't know how many years ago now, 35 years ago, something like that. And I love it. It's lots of fun. It really works. Audiences love it because it's so surprising. And I really like working in those found spaces. You know, they're different, they're challenging. They're very versatile as well. But it is lots of fun going outside of cinemas into other places and really testing yourself and testing the audience too. That's really enjoyable. So yeah, we've got a ton of screenings all over the joint, which is going to keep us busy. But it's we're really super happy to be back in a big way.
That is terrific news. And we're talking to Richard Sowada on Movie Metropolis. So apart from, of course, many short films curated into bundles and so on, you've got
Yeah.
some other documentaries and other films, including Melbourne on Dylan, which sounds really interesting.
Oh, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. It was sent to us last year, actually, and we were going to program it, of course. But they weren't able to clear the music rights and all that sort of thing in time, so they had to ice it for a little while. But it has screened overseas quite significantly, actually, and it's a really, really well produced documentary by anyone's standards. Really well put together. It interviews lots of luminaries from the local music scene and record store owners and other musicians and that sort of thing, and promoters from back in the day. And that was, I think, the film is set in the late '60s when Dylan came here to Australia, and the impact that had on the Melbourne music scene and people who are involved and that sort of thing. And it's a super high quality film. It runs for about 35 minutes or so, so it's beefy. But yeah, it's very well produced. And yeah, when I saw it for the first time, I was like, wow, I like this. And yeah, it's a really well put together film. Lots of great texture, obviously lots of wonderful music, and such a slice of Melbourne from back in the day. And the influence is still there when you listen to the musicians and the people involved in the picture. Yeah, it's a really good movie, that one.
Sounds really
Selling
good.
very well too. It's
Ah,
actually selling super well as well. Yeah.
uh-huh. Okay, excellent. And that's Melbourne on Dylan. And I notice you're playing a musical, Mum Life.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, with this one, again, this is a really high production value film, and it's a story of a new mother and her how she's coping with being a new mother, and she's not always coping, and in dealing with quite a significant issue with something like postnatal depression, for instance. It's an important issue, and it touches many people's lives. And to turn it into a musical, to turn those real hard emotions into something a little more, I wouldn't say whimsical necessarily, but I don't know, the magical realism in it, or something really just flips it into another zone, which I think makes it very accessible for all audiences, and just turns it into a really surprising experience, which is still very moving, and it packs a lot of punch, but it's got so much color and power, and the music compositions are really good, and the choreography is just brilliant. And it's a film from the AFTRS, Australian Film, Television, and Radio School. And I don't mind saying we get a lot of films from the AFTRS and various the VCA and Swinburne and that sort of thing. And I have to say, over the last probably 4 years since I've been doing the St. Kilda Film Festival. And I've watched a lot of AFTRS films in my career, doing other film festival programming. The direction that school is taking in the ambition that they're building into the young filmmakers there is admirable. And it's really on a very good trajectory, I think, in encouraging that creative risk and ambition. Yeah, it's really good, and that film's a really good testament to that, because it's just so out of the box. It's like, oh wow, where did this come from? And it works in that respect very well.
Oh, very interesting to hear that. And I noticed also a documentary from WA called Gravel Road.
Oh yes, Gravel Road. So Gravel Road, it's a documentary about the most remote rock band in the world. They live in the desert in WA, and it's about a tour that they're organising. The band is called oh, I can't believe I've just forgotten the name of the band. The Desert
Desert
Stars.
Desert Stars, yeah.
Desert Stars, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about that tour. And when this film came along, I spent a little bit of time up north in WA, not that far out in the communities, but I love it. I love the desert. And when this film came along, I said to Fred Geisha, who's our First Nations arts officer at the City of Port Phillip and does the First Nations programming as part of the film festival, I said to him, mate, we have to see if we can get this band over. And show the movie, because we're showing it at the Esplanade Hotel. It's like, okay, let's show the movie. Let's get the band over. We did a similar kind of thing last year with One Night the Moon, the Rachel Perkins musical, another musical actually. And we showed it at the SB, and we had some live performances and everything, and it just went nuts. And when this one came along, it's just absolutely ready-made for that kind of format. So we've been talking to the band. We've been talking a lot to the band, and they have to travel 1,400 kilometres on a dirt road just to get to the nearest town, to get on a plane to get them to Perth. That's how far out they are. So we've got them coming over. We can't wait. They can't wait. So that's going to be really something. I think we got a tiger by the tail there, and who knows what is going to happen? Absolutely, who knows? Which is the beauty of the documentary in many ways, and also the beauty of doing things in that kind of in that kind of a way. And it's perfect. That's so looking forward to it. So are we. It's going to be crazy.
Sounds like something very special. Very good.
Oh yeah, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts.
of course, there's a whole range of other programs, which including animation. And did you get lots of animation this year?
Oh yeah, this was another thing, like the comedies as well. Like I love animations. I've got a predisposition for them when they come through. And Melbourne has got such a great tradition of animation. I mean, Adam Elliott's making his next feature as we speak.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity. I don't know if you went down and visited his studio, Peter, but it's phenomenal what he's doing. But anyway, animation is such a big thing here in Victoria, and we got a lot of animations come through. Like I've over the last few years, I've really been trying to build the animation programs and this and that. But this one was easy. There was a lot, very high quality. I mean, when I look at that animation program, I reckon there's probably about 12 or 15 animations in that feature program, maybe 12, and they're really great. And I think COVID, I don't want to speak on behalf of the animators, but I think it has really, brought out a focus and I don't know. There's a depth to the work and I don't know. The detail is minute, and I really, that really resonates with me. There's a lot of thought that's gone into them, and a lot of poetic structures and that sort of thing. So these animations are not for kids necessarily. They're adult films, and they work really well. There's a great variety, and yeah, I was really super pleased with the animation program. And I think audiences will be too. They'll be very surprised. There's a couple of them screening on the opening night, but it was hard not to put them all in on the opening night because they just bang. They're really nice movies. Yeah.
Oh, terrific! And I noticed a film called Hen.
Oh yes, we do one of the most popular screenings that we've done over the last couple of years has been the LGBTQIA plus screening at the Pride Centre. That's another venue I forgot to mention before. I don't know if people have been to the Pride Centre or not, but if you haven't, it's awesome. It's a great building, and the architecture is phenomenal down there on Fitzroy Street in St Kilda, and they've got a beautiful theatre out the back. And the sound is fantastic, and it's very comfy, and it's a good place to watch a movie. So last year we sold out in an instant, and we're getting close to selling out now for that screening. But Hen is it comes at you. It's a hen's night that goes wrong, and one of the participants in the hen's night is lesbian. And it's about the way that she deals with her sexuality, and other people deal with her sexuality, and it crosses over into this really crazy kind of weird. It's not weird, but this crazy horror movie that just goes completely off the rails. But it's very well made. And very unpredictable, high quality, and really funny, and really creepy. And just like, what next, which is what I really like in the films as well, which is how I structured the program. It's like, what next? That's just, what next? That's not what I was expecting. So that's kind of the little surprise in that program, I think. But it's a very good program. The LGBT program really goes well. There's such a great community, and such a great support in that community of artists and each other. And I don't know, we did last year when we did a screening down there. I was running the Q&A, and I cried during the Q&A just with the honesty and the authenticity and the whole, I don't know, grassroots thinking and feeling and support. It's just really moving. Yeah.
Okay. And there was one other film I wanted to mention, Run South.
Oh yeah. Now when that came across our table, it came across a little bit late for us to program last year. But again, when I saw that thing has got scale. It was shot in Thailand. It's a Vietnam War type movie about two prisoners who escape from their captivity during the Vietnam War, and they make their way across country to freedom. Well, I won't say to freedom, but they make their way across country, and it's when I saw it, it's like, wow, this is ambitious. This has got scale, it's got scope, it's got depth, it's got jungles, it's a fully realized movie, and the filmmaker is angling it or hoping for it to be maybe turned into a feature. And we get a few of them every year, films that you can identify as like, okay, that's going to be made. And Run South is one of them. You know, it's exciting. It's of the genre, and they spent time and money on that. You know, their own time and their own money on it as well. And there was an article I think published in Film Inc. about it fairly recently, and there's a lot of great stories, a lot of challenges in making that movie. And you know, hats off to them because they really pulled it off. It's it's the real thing. Yeah.
Wow, there's so many highlights in this year's St Kilda Film Festival. Are there any others that you want to mention, Richard?
Oh, look, you know, there's the tried and tested horror program, which is fantastic. I love horror movies and genre movies and that sort of thing. So that's good. There's a very cool sci-fi and fantasy program which really works. And there's never a shortage of those genre films. And you know, in the Australian screen industry, sometimes the funding agencies and distributors and this and that, you know, they kind of rail against the genre films and you know, perhaps don't take them as seriously as what they might do with dramas and this and that. But those things make money and they work, and people come and see them, and they've got an audience, a young audience, which is what the industry really needs. So putting those films in the program and giving them a red hot go, I really like. The program, as is my taste and style, has got a high level of experimentation in it too. So we don't shy away from ideas that might be a little bit kind of narrative free, if that makes sense, you know, or you know, that traditional narrative structures. So that's what I'm trying to say. So we really look at films that really challenge themselves with the narrative structures and that sort of thing. So there's a few of them, and they're very high quality. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that, with the balance of the program overall, and the way it's going out into the community in a very pinpointed way and a very dynamic way too. So yeah, I was really pleased with it.
Oh, terrific. So let's talk about website, booking tickets, all that info.
Oh, yes. So the website, if you just go to your favorite search engine and look up St Kilda Film Festival, you'll get there. All the tickets are available online. I would say the professional development day that we're doing, the big picture, that's completely free. It's good if you register your interest because some of the sessions have caps on them. But if you're interested in the screen industry, even if you're not wanting to work in the sector, if you want to understand more about it and how it all works and all that sort of thing, just drop on by the James C. Academy on the 3rd of June. And come down and mix it up with everyone. It's a really great day. So go to the festival website and book away. We'd love to see you there.
Yeah, and did I read right? This is the 39th year of the St Kilda Film Festival?
It is the 39th year, but there's a little bit of conjecture around that, Peter. Some people say 40, some people say 39. So we're erring on the side of something. I don't know what, but it's the 39th year officially.
Officially. All right. St Kilda Film Festival happening from the 1st to the 12th of June. And it's, as always, a pleasure to talk to Richard Sowada about St Kilda Film Festival.
Thanks, Peter. It's wonderful to be here.
And now we will do a segue because we're going to keep talking to Richard Sowada because he also programs Melbourne Design Week Film Festival, which is on from the 18th to the 28th of May at the Lido Classic and Capitol Theatres. And let's just to give people an idea of what this is all about. What is the Design Week Film Festival meant to do?
Well, the Design Week itself is a huge event that embraces, you know, architecture, sustainability, design, and the environment, the built environment that is tipped into all of that. And a number of years ago, when I left ACME, I approached the Melbourne Design Week to see if they were interested in a design film festival, because there are several around the world which are big, and films are related to design and architecture are big, and they have a big audience, and they speak internationally to issues that are facing us all in the built environment that we live in. So that's the heart of the motivation. I love architecture movies. I know nothing about architecture at all, but I love architecture and design. It's just something that I've always liked. I love the lines, the clean lines. I love the balance. I love the discussion about the built environment and how to make it a better place for everyone. Within these films, there's a lot of politics all the time. Not just necessarily these films that are programmed in this Design Week program, but just generally. I mean, we're talking about homelessness. We're talking about cost of living, if I can throw in that, recently well-used phrase. We're talking about sustainability. We're talking about the environment. We're talking about throwaway culture and, disposable culture and disposable histories, and those kind of things. We're talking about memory. And we're talking about our relationship to the immediate world around us. Forget about metropolises and far-flung places and that sort of thing. And the thing about it, Peter, is that these films have very, very similar thematics and very, very similar issues that are dealt with in an urban environment or in a non-urban environment. How we live. How our relationship with the country and the natural environment too. So these things resonate very strongly and continue to become more resonant. So these are the things that the festival is trying to do and that I'll try and tip in. And, we've got films in there. There's a really good quotient of films about women designers and women architects, which has not always been the case in seeing them in cinema. So we have some lovely films about women working in design, particularly, not necessarily in architecture, but in design in ceramics and fabrics and jewellery and that sort of thing, including Helen Britton, the Australian designer who lives overseas, very famous for her work with found objects and turning them into jewellery and that sort of thing. So they're the types of pictures. We've got a really lovely film, a very argumentative film actually, called Shelter Without Shelter, about building shelters for refugees that fit their culture, and also the practicality of erecting these things and where they are placed in the landscape, which isn't always good. And it's a funny movie because it starts out being very positive about various designs or various measures that companies undertake to house refugees, IKEA, for instance, and I'm not dishing IKEA at all, but about some of the structures that they build for refugees and in refugee camps and all that sort of thing. And then suddenly the argument starts to spin around a little bit as to the complexity of these things and the nature of their actual design, how people, the refugees, respond to their design. So it's a really very nice argumentative film that really interrogates that side of architecture in a really rigorous and very absorbing way. And it's quite fascinating, that film Shelter Without Shelter. But there's also another film in there called Last and First Men, which is a phenomenal art movie. It's just unbelievable. It's narrated by Tilda Swinton, and it's set 2 billion years in the future, while the narration kind of ruminates over the fall and the rise and the fall of humanity as they're clinging on to the last vestiges of human life in the universe. And it's reflected through the amazing brutalist Soviet era brutalist architecture in Yugoslavia, as Tilda Swinton kind of talks about the human race. And it's based on a book by the same name by a fellow called Olaf Stapleton. And the director of the picture is a musician by trade, and he did the music for the most recent Blade Runner and for Arrival, and also I said Blade Runner and Arrival, but there's Sicario. So the score is unbelievable. It's unbelievably beautiful, actually, and the film very, very finely tuned, and the architecture is just incredible to look at, and it's a beautiful meditation on the cinema screen. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that at the movies. I've only seen it like on a screening, on a small screen. So that's going to be the thing too. But yeah, I'm very pleased with the architecture program and with the design program. It's very, very finely calibrated.
Well, I noticed also a film called Greta Maya, Queen of Danish Design, which sounds really interesting.
Oh yeah, look, the stories, the three films about women designers in the program are fascinating. They're really very well put together, and the Greta Mai one, I'm just getting it up on my screen here. It's told in a super interesting way. It's like very high quality recreations of her life, and she's designing bowls and plates and dinner sets and that sort of thing. Again, she was a very, very driven designer, and a lot of the things in her life, and it comes out in the movie, a lot of the more personal things that happen, like having children and that sort of thing, are kind of pushed aside for the absolute focus on design and the highest possible iteration of her imagination. And the film is really rich in its recreations. It's got a beautiful 35mm film feel about it, but I don't know if it's 35 or not when it was made, but it has a really wonderful texture, which is what I love about these movies in many ways, Peter, is they don't just reflect what they're about. They actually are what they're about. They have a quality and a weight and a smell sometimes almost. It's really, I mean, you're right there in the studios and right there in the lives. So yeah, that's a really lovely film too. Yeah. So yeah, very well made.
Okay,
Very
and I
well
noticed
made.
there are 7 features overall. So again, let's talk about website and details and so on.
Yeah, well, you can find them on the Melbourne Design Week website under MDW and then the name of the films, the Melbourne Design Week Film Festival. So you can find them there, or you can go to the Classic Cinema website, or the Lido website, or the Capitol website. And I have to say, I'm super pleased to be at the Capitol. I love that building, and I've been kind of wanting to get my toes in there for a little while. And I'm really, really happy to be in there, because it's just like, for those of you who haven't been to the Capitol, it's just a sensational piece of architecture in its own right. Yeah,
It
really something.
certainly is, yeah. So that's Melbourne Design Week Film Festival, May 18th to the 28th. So much happening. And Richard, I'll just leave you with my usual final question. Seen anything else of late that impressed you?
Oh, well, look, it might not be the caliber that you're looking for. However, I did see Evil Dead Rise recently, and I love the Evil Dead movies, particularly the first one. And this one is basically a remake of the first one, but it holds very true, and it's lots of fun. Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. And having said that, I also really enjoyed Dungeons and Dragons for the same reason. It was a hoot. I thought it was lots of fun, but Evil Dead Rise is very true to the form and very exciting, and you get what you want.
I actually agree with you. I liked both films, so that's that's terrific.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's Melbourne Design Week, and we've been speaking to the artistic director of the Melbourne Design Week Film Festival, Richard Sowada. Richard, thanks for talking with me about both film festivals.
Look, thanks so much, Peter. Yeah, it's a very busy time, but yeah, both events are really fantastic, and I really look forward to seeing audiences at them all.
Absolutely. St.Kilda Film Festival and Design Week Film Festival all happening. Richard, thank you so much.
Thanks, Peter.